Hello and welcome, everybody. As you guys are streaming in, welcome and good to see everybody. Hope the weather's treating everybody well out here in the west. We are getting torrential rains, at least up in my neck of the woods. So good morning, Sheila. How are you doing over in Nevada? We're coming your way. We're going to be doing a youth training at Washoe in June. So I know it's not your ball game. You know, I know you're at least 19 years old, right? So no longer youth, but we'll honk as we drive by. All righty. All right, Jamie, you ready to go?
Almost here. So
Almost.
sorry.
Okay.
Almost.
All righty. Well, I'll get going on some of the introductions, and then we will roll along. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome today. This is a presentation called Business Ideas That Cost Less than $100 to Start. And so I hope you guys are in the right location. This is going to be a pretty interesting webinar. So we do a class called Business Idea Generation, and we thought this would be a great opportunity to have a different perspective on how you can generate business ideas, or even ideas just even to get a job. We think that's also a unique opportunity. Basically, any way, right? That's what we're here for at IDRS Acorn Project, helping you build your familial wealth, and whether you do it through a better paying career, or you do it through building your own business. You know, we want to help you and make sure that you get it done. So I'm Mark Thompson. I'm the executive director here at IDRS. Today, our presenter is going to be Jamie Beck with Career Visions. And Career Vision, I should say. And Jamie Beck has worked with the Owens Valley Career Development Center, which is based in Bishop. So if we have any folks from OVCDC on the line, she's done a lot of work out there with Native youth and doing job development work. She's got a big project going on with Minecraft that's going to be coming up. So I think that's pretty exciting. She's also worked down in Southern California. I know we have some folks in Southern California. I see Octavia down there. Hello, Octavia. She's a little further south than what Jamie's worked. Jamie's worked with the Torres Martinez TANF program.
Morongo.
Morongo, excuse me. Morongo TANF program. Well, that's Inland Empire, so almost getting there. So, but yeah, this is a lot of great information that I think you guys are going to get out today. So, but before we start, just to let everybody know about, so we're in the webinar format, so we can't come off of mute yourself. However, if you want to ask questions, we're going to be monitoring the chat box. We're going to be monitoring the Q&A box if you happen to utilize that. And if you guys want to ask questions, you can always, verbally, you can always raise your hand, and then we can manually unmute you. So, however, but we want to make sure that you guys, get the opportunity to participate. And I should say, who we are real quick. I don't have my slide up, but we're Indian Dispute Resolution Services. We run the IDRS Acorn Project. And I'll put our information in the chat box in case there's somebody new here and you guys aren't familiar with us. You'll find a way to not only find out about upcoming webinars that we have going, but you'll be able to find out about how that you can request free assistance and counseling for your small business. Those are some of the services that we provide here at the IDRS Acorn Project. So with that, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Miss Jamie Beck from Career Vision.
All right. Can you see the screen okay, Mark?
I can see the screen. I see it's in the web browser.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Canva just went down. I use an online presentation software and it just went down. So we're having to use a PDF, but you can see it okay?
I can see it okay.
Awesome. All right. Okay, everyone, good morning. So I'm Jamie Beck, and we have 2 hours of nonstop crazy ideas on how to start businesses for under $100. I have a ton of information to share with you guys. So I really want you to utilize the chat, take screenshots as you need, and you may even want to do like timestamps if you just have a piece of paper out. For places that you want to go back. So you could write the time down and you could go back and look at that later, because there's going to be so much information. And I really encourage you to only take notes on things that you're actually going to use. Don't try to capture everything. You'll drive yourself crazy. You can always go back and rewatch, but do feel free to take screenshots as we go through today as well. All right, everyone. So I'm going to give you a little bit of theory around what I've been doing for the last 20 years. I'm a career educator, and I'm classically trained in sociology, not psychology, where a lot of career education typically is housed. And so I really look at how systems work together. And that includes things like family work-life balance. And it's really important because when you look at this pie chart right here, we only get a certain number of hours each week. And it's really important to realize that work takes up at least 24% of that. That's not including your break, your commute, and sleep takes up 33%. And so over half of your week is already gone between work and sleep and a commute and break. And so today's workshop is really exciting because we're going to be looking at entrepreneurship, particularly in rural areas, but it's all about reclaiming that family work-life balance, because when you look at this chart here, life goes by super quick. So if you're working and sleeping, you literally only have maybe 8% left of your week to do technology and entertainment. That's an hour each day of each. Self-care is your morning and night routine. Mine got a little delayed because I got a call from a doctor's office and they're super hard to catch. And so I didn't get my shower in quick enough and here online. So you have to balance all that out, right? Exercise, eating, that takes up 6%. Well, imagine eating takes up 10 minutes at every meal. That adds up to 3% of your week, just eating. That's not cooking, cleaning, cleaning up, shopping. And then we have life. That's where you do everything else, right? And that's only 16% of your week. And so it's kind of crazy to think that you have to cram everything else into life. This includes vacationing, this includes shopping, paying your bills, paying your taxes. I did an extension. I don't know if you guys did as well, or if you got those filed in time. This includes raising children, being in a relationship, seeing your family, doing your yard work, going back to school, working on a side hustle or business. It all has to be crammed into this 16%. So the very first thing I kind of want to start off today, before we jump into all these business ideas under $100, is really thinking about like what's important to you, because you're going to be working and sleeping for literally over, I'm so sorry guys, here we go, over 50 years of your life. And so it's really important to think about how much time you're actually devoting to the process of work. And so when I ask people what comes to mind when you think about the word work, it's really important to kind of think about your connotation of work. So I want you guys to type in the chat, what is your connotation of work? When I say the word work, what's the first thing that pops into your mind? So hopefully we'll get some chats in. Money, what else? Paying the bills. Okay, what else? Let's get a few more here. Completing a task. Survival, time away from kids, providing for my family, survival and bills. Okay, so a lot of those were work is a necessity. And for some of you, there seems like a little bit of a negative connotation. And I apologize, we're not in our PowerPoint here. The site I use is web hosted and it went down. So I'm in a PDF, but hopefully it's working okay for you guys. But 70% of Americans have a negative connotation of work. Work is something that brings up a lot of dissatisfaction for 70% of Americans. This was pre-COVID. After COVID, I think it's even higher because people got a taste of being at home and having more family work-life balance, perhaps, or finding out that their priorities really shifted through COVID. So I think this number is a lot higher. And so I'm really excited today. We're talking about entrepreneurship because it's a way to really reclaim a positive connotation over work. So when I saw you guys type in the chat, things like time away from kids, we're going to be talking about things that let you work in a field or start a business that really lets you spend time with your children. I'm super excited because my son got really into Minecraft during COVID, and instead of just saying, oh my gosh, this is so complicated, I don't understand it, I asked him to show me what he was doing. And within a few months, I was hooked, and it's now become my business for all of summer. I literally am going to be teaching kids Minecraft and teaching staff how to use it in an educational way, and also as a way for prevention, and also to preserve language and culture. And so for me, it's really like I took my son's passion and now I'm in his world. And for a lot of you wrote things like survival and paying the bills. We're going to be looking at some really exciting ways to pay your bills and survive in a way that you're not spending 24% of your week dissatisfied. So I just kind of wanted to give you guys a little bit of a summary of the work that I do, because when I work with our youngest generation and I go in and I talk with middle schoolers and high schools, their reaction to the word work is that it sucks. And some of you may be able to relate to this if you're working with youth or you have youth in your home. A lot of times youth, especially who are behind in credits, we say to them, hurry up and graduate already so you can go to work and get a job. And if they have a negative connotation and work is something they're not excited about, it's really hard to motivate them to go through the process of graduating or getting their GED so they can go to work. That's not an exciting motivation. And so a lot of the ideas that I'm going to be sharing with you guys today are really rooted in people's interests and passions that help change that connotation of work to something that's positive, exciting, and fun. And so I hope, if anything, you leave with that today. So just kind of looking again at how our society thinks about work, you can see all these memes, lots of them. People post them all over, especially on a Monday morning, about how we think about work. We even start training babies very early on to think about work in a negative light. So there's 4,285 Mondays if you guys want to start counting down. I know a few of you on the call may be close to retirement and you're like, yes, I only have 162 Mondays left. And you know, it's a mentality that our society has really created from very early on. You see these kiddos wearing these shirts and it breaks my heart because we want people to be spending at least 24% of their week doing something to survive, support their families, to make money, that is exciting to do. You know, not all work is going to be perfect, but at least getting closer to that. So lastly, just before we move on, Mondays also have the highest rate of road rage, high blood pressure, heart attacks, and suicide. A lot of you may have been coming back from spring break or maybe on spring break, and a lot of society really lives for those days. We spend a lot of time working for the weekend. So quick, how many of you can name a song that sings about work in a negative connotation? Most of them are country, but yeah, like, you know, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. You can type in the chat if you have some other ideas. Everybody's working for the weekend, right? We sing a lot about that. And it's interesting, a lot of those songs are country based. And a lot of people who live in the country do hard physical labor. And so their connotation of work is very tiring as well. And so it's kind of interesting just to think about, again, how take this job and shove it. Yes, exactly. There's so many of them. And so our society has really thought about work that way. So we're going to change that today. And I hope you guys are excited. I love speaking about entrepreneurship, and I'm kind of a serial gigger. I have a million things going all the time. And I don't ever really turn any of them into a full-fledged business per se. Um, I just like doing lots of different things with lots of variety. And I like to try things, experiment with things. And pretty much everything I do is always under $100. It's not a lot of risk. We try it, we experiment with it. Even my kids, since they've been as early as 4 and 5, have been doing this as well. And then occasionally we find something that it's like, oh, this was profitable. It was fun. We're not sick of it. Let's take this a little bit further. And so I'm hoping that you guys will be able to get a lot of ideas at the end of the day that you can feel comfortable, you know, experimenting with and trying. And business doesn't always have to be, let's sit down and, get a loan, get a location, and really take this huge life-changing step. It can be lots of little steps to see how things work. So that's what we're focusing on today. Oh, a few more songs here. 9 to 5, Johnny Paycheck reference. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Yeah, totally. Okay, so this is a creepy picture, but just to kind of kick our day off here, I want you to keep this in mind. Our body, if you break it into sections, the head is about 24%, right? So we break our body into 4 sections. Work is about 24% of your week. When you are dissatisfied at work, when you're doing something that is not fulfilling, when you're doing something you hate and you dread, it really starts to impact the rest of your life. Just like if we cut off our head here, our body does not function, right? And so when we're working, it's so important to realize that what we do and what we spend time doing can filter into every other area of our life, from family to spirituality, to education, to community, health. All of that is impacted. So we can only become what we know exists. And that's our focus today, is really exposing you guys to things that you never even thought of, and really breaking out of those traditional careers of, doctor, teacher, lawyer, fireman, policeman, the uniforms. So the way we're going to do that today is we are going to look at your interests. We are going to look at choosing business toppings, which is super fun and interesting. And we're going to look at capitalizing on geography. So today's emphasis really has a special focus on living in a rural area. If you do not live in a rural area, these are totally still applicable to you. But we really wanted to honor a lot of you coming from areas where it is rural and there aren't a lot of opportunities. And I want to show you how to really harness that, grow that, and capitalize on that today, because there are some super fun, exciting entrepreneur related ideas, especially for rural areas. So we are going to just launch right into determining your interests. And I really want you guys to think about COVID, and I want you to think about, like, how did you spend your time during COVID? So this is interactive in that I want you typing in the chat, because I'm going to be taking just a few mental notes that when we get to different sections today, like we're concluding the workshop today looking at 15 interest areas. So I'll talk more about the interest areas that you share with me right now. I have a lot of examples already prepared, but like if I don't see anyone say that cars is a huge interest, I'm going to go super quick over that area. So I have 15 interest areas to talk to you about today. So please use this chat right now to really share your interests as we go through these brainstorming questions. All right. So the first question is, I want you to think about, what would I find in your internet browsing history or your phone history? And I want you to think about like COVID. I want you to think about now, like 2 a.m. What's the thing that you're looking at? What's the thing that when you can't sleep, you're scrolling by? What and you guys can start typing right now in the chat. What are the things that you join groups on Facebook for? What are the things that you follow on TikTok or in social media? What are the things that you research for fun? What are the things that you'll be online and it's like, oh my gosh, I have to go to bed. I did not realize it was midnight, because that was so fun. So we're getting some great things right now. We're getting creative writing, poetry, cats, books, crafts, the happy planner. Okay, I'm just gonna take a few notes here so I can talk about. I love the happy planner, by the way, Jamie, that's so cool. Beading, so I wanna make sure I touch on these later. Crafts, cooking, gardening, great, we have some of those. Cats, I have lots of great animal things we're gonna share. DIY, crypto. Okay, I want to give a quick shout out to a place to learn about crypto. And I also have someone I'm working with right now to develop an intro workshop to that. So if that's something people are interested in, I would love to see more Native communities starting to learn more about crypto and NFTs, because it's our future for our kids. And so yes, a great resource for crypto NFTs, just because I'm not going to talk about it today, is a social media outlet called Clubhouse. So I spent a lot of time on Clubhouse during the pandemic. It started on Apple phones. So I literally got an Apple phone just to be on it. It's now available on Android as well, but it's a social media app that's all audio. And so you can literally join rooms about anything you want and listen in, and you can raise your hand and get on the stage and ask questions or talk to people. And there are so many entrepreneur rooms on there. There are so many like side hustle rooms. You have to be careful and use your common sense, right? There's people on there trying to get you to join what they're doing and invest in projects they're doing. So you have to use common sense, but it's a great wealth of knowledge for any interest area that you guys have. It's changed a lot since COVID has kind of calmed down, but it was really the lifeline for people, you know, while they were at home. I was in a lot of educational rooms, and I still have friends from all over the world that I can email in an instant and connect with and brainstorm with. So really want to just kind of throw that out there. It's called Clubhouse. Great place to go and just get ideas in your niche area. So super fun. Exercise, YouTube crafting, homesteading. Okay, one other resource that I don't know if I'm going to get to today, and we'll move on to the next thing here, is homesteading, sustainable living and gardening. There's an amazing website that I just want to share with you guys called Workaway. It's called workaway.info. And it literally costs, I think, like $30 to join to travel. And it's free to host. So I've actually hosted over 70 people through it, and I barter people. So like they trade me like 20 hours a week for free room and board. And you can also go and travel with it. So a lot of the entrepreneur ideas that we're going to be talking about today, you may need a little more training. And this is a really cool way to get free training while you travel. So for example, let's say you live in California and you'd like to learn about homesteading and organic gardening. You don't have to necessarily go to college. You don't have to necessarily enroll in a class to take those skills to the next level and start a business. You can literally go on Workaway and find a family or an organization that's doing homesteading and organic gardening. And you can take a weekend, you can take a week, you can go and stay with them and learn everything you want to learn while you're bartering them 20 hours a week for room and board, and learn everything you want. I had a woman who wanted to learn maple syrup processing and like how to do that. and she was telling me about this farm she found where she could pay like $1,500 to go for a week and learn. And I was like, no, 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 workaway.info has that. Like you can literally find a maple syrup farm and go and learn for free. So I really encourage you guys. There's people who build banjos, and you can go and stay with them and learn the art of banjo making. You can go and stay at a turtle preserve in the Galapagos and learn to band the turtles and get free room and board. You can go stay at a bed and breakfast and then learn how they're running it and volunteer there for a week, and then go back home and think about how you could implement that. So lots of great ideas of how to learn skills for especially rural areas on Workaway. All right, I just wanted to touch on a few things I know I'm not going to get to today. I love everyone's cool things that they're mentioning. Workaway.info. I'm going to put it here in the chat. There we go. Okay. All right. So these are just some things that, people are spending time online learning about. You guys mentioned some of these, so we will touch on those. Okay. The next thing I want to know from you guys are, what do you follow on social media? We kind of already asked this. So if we missed anything, add it. But I kind of blended those questions. And then what would you do for free for 40 hours a week? I love this question. Now I want to, you guys to type in the chat. Here's just some ideas. I want to kind of talk about that really quickly, because a lot of times when people are thinking about going into business or getting a job, it's like, oh, but that's my hobby. I don't want to do it for work, right? So type in the chat things that you would do for free for 40 hours. I'm going to show you ways that maybe you're not physically doing it because it would take the fun out of it, but you're still in that genre. So for example, let's say you're an artist and it's like, oh, I don't want to sell my paintings because I just do them for fun. It's my stress relief. It's my hobby. If I did it for pay, it would take the joy away. We're going to be talking about other ways that you can take your love of art. So one of the things I love in rural areas in particular is having people do on-site pop-up painting. I saw someone mentioned pop-up events, Octavia. I love pop-up painting ideas. So for example, if you live near a lake and there's a campground there and it's always busy in the summer and you have amazing sunsets, you could literally go and hang up signs that you're doing a pop-up painting class. It's $40. It includes all the supplies, and you'll be down by the lake at 6 p.m., right, for the sunset. And now as an artist, you're not selling your art. It's not taking away the fun of your art. You're sharing your love of art with other people and just kind of letting them watch you and kind of do their own. You don't have to be the best teacher, but you can just kind of share the experience with people and provide that opportunity. So it's really important to think about, what do you love? Ooh, pop-up language instruction. Yes, Jamie, I love that idea. I love it. We're actually working on a language project in Minecraft as well, in the Owens Valley. So super exciting. I hope you've heard about it. And yeah, it's going to be fun. It's really important for you guys to realize that distinction, that what you would do for free for 40 hours, we're not going to try to take away from that as we look at entrepreneurship. We're just going to use it as fodder. Okay. Let's look at what you would buy yourself if you had a gift card for $1,000. Now, yourself. Okay. I know that a lot of us think about our kids first or family first or necessities, like I'd pay, my bills or whatever. I just want you to think, like, if someone gave you a gift card you had to spend on yourself, like, what would you buy, right? What's something that you're interested in that you would actually buy? Ooh, massages, raised bed for gardens, guitar, Kobe beef, regalia. Yeah, regalia. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Books. I love that. Esther, my daughter as well. She's on spring vacation with her dad, and she took $300 with her to go to bookstores and buy books. And And in her room, I think she might also be buying a new bookshelf. She's going to go look for something super special, but her books are her babies. Ooh, an industrial sewing machine. Lumber for building something. Okay, so you guys, I want you to keep this in mind as we get through to some of the sections that we're going to be talking about. These are clues about what's important to you. And we're going to look at entrepreneurial ways that we can incorporate that passion where we would actually spend money. So I love this. Ooh, furniture making. I have a lot of fun ideas with that. Okay. This is great, you guys. And if you're typing these in the chat, be sure to type these down on a piece of paper. I mean, write them down on a piece of paper or save them to your phone or take a picture because you don't want to forget these great ideas. These questions I'm asking you are really meant to capture what's important to you. All right, just a few more of these. Oops, get into those. Okay, what could you give a speech about or teach to a stranger with no preparation? What could you give a speech about or teach to strangers with no preparation? This is a really important question to ask your kiddos. If they're getting ready to go to college, if they're thinking about the workforce, if they're thinking about starting a business, as well as yourself. My son is super shy. He's 10, and the things that he can light up about and talk to strangers about are video games. And so like I literally have harnessed that, and I'm creating pathways for him in video games now because that's where he's in his element. And it's the same for all the kids that are in his club. I also employ a teen intern, and we're actually doing this in the Owens Valley this summer. We're training teens in esports management so they can use their love of video game to start entrepreneurial ventures, either within the tribes or on their own. But I have a teen coach myself that I employ here at my house to run my esports programming in Minecraft. And he's shy, he has a speech impediment, and you know, he's a teenager. But when he's here, he lights up. It's easy for him. He has so much respect from the kids. They can't wait till he gets here. They can't wait to share their screen with him. And he literally gets paid $40 for hanging out at my house, teaching Minecraft, playing Minecraft, running Minecraft games for 2 hours. And that's his gig right now as a 17-year-old. But it's really empowered him to take a leadership role that maybe wouldn't have shown if it wasn't in his thing, right? So all of us have something within us that like we're just a different person when we're around that group of people that share the same passion. We may be super shy, like myself. I'm a speaker and a presenter. I'm super shy in public. Like if I'm around other moms, if I'm at a school event, I have nothing to talk about with the other moms that are there. I'm not into hair and nails or TV series that they may watch, or, you know, I'm not a socialite. Like I don't go out and go to different events. And so sometimes I find myself very lonely at places where I'm with other adults. But if I find an adult that's unemployed, if I find someone who's thinking about going back to school, if I find that their kid is going to college, I have endless things to talk about, right? Or if I'm with kiddos, I have endless things to talk about because I want to know what they're into and how their brain works, and give them fun ideas about their future. And so that's my thing. That's what I do as an entrepreneur, right? So I want you guys to think about that. So I love seeing a lot of things related to Native American traditions, culture, art, reading, chickens, homeschooling. I love all that. All right, so just some more ideas. We're going to talk on all these picture ideas. All right, so now that you guys know yourself a little bit better and what's important to you, be sure to capture those, and think about those questions and use them with clients if you're working with people who are looking for career pathways, employment opportunities, kids that are going to college. and use those with your family, just as you're thinking about like businesses they could start or interests that they have. They're really good questions that just kind of tap into our daily life and take notice of what we love, because we are going to be working and needing to earn money and survive for 24% of our week, right? So that's kind of our first step, is interest. So you guys have a lot of cool interests. Luckily, we're touching on a lot of those today. So I think you guys will have fun as we brainstorm. But the next thing I want to talk about is choosing a business topping. And so we're going to look at this pizza for a minute. Comment in the chat if there is something on this pizza that is disgusting and that you hate and that you want off of here. Is there anyone that does not like something? I see bell peppers, olives. Esther does not like most of it. I see pineapple. I see bell pepper, cheese. Everything but the cheese. And the cheese is sometimes like the basic ingredient, right? Thank you so much, Tien, whoever that is, for saying that, because we are going to talk about the cheese for sure. Is that pizza? Yes, that is pizza. Okay, so obviously some of you have some major aversions to some stuff here, and that's kind of the thought that we get when we think about business, right? I've been self-employed for about 10 years, 12 years. Oh, someone wants cauliflower crust. Yes, and some of us have allergies, right, to gluten maybe. And a lot of us think about that, or we need to think about that when we're thinking about business. So I've been self-employed for, 10, 12, 15 years, something like that. I don't even know. And part of me is really proud to say that I don't really consider myself a business owner. And then part of me is really embarrassed to say that I don't think of myself as a business owner. Only now, this month, have I reached out to an SBA, which is similar what Indian Dispute Resolution Services does, right? They're an SBA. Only recently this month have I reached out to one after 15 years or so of being an entrepreneur to say, I'm ready to really take my business seriously. I'm ready to think about hiring staff. I'm ready to think about having some legal contracts drafted up. But I've been gigging, as I like to call it, for about 15 years. And I'm kind of proud of that too, because it's like I didn't have to really formalize things, because if we're looking at business as pizza toppings, we would say that I have a pretty big aversion to cheese. Now, cheese is kind of a main ingredient in traditional pizza, right? So business for me, I kind of have a pretty big aversion to formal process and procedure. And there's a lot of aspects of business I really do not enjoy. I don't enjoy budgeting, finance, record keeping. I don't enjoy like the business licenses, the business insurance. I don't enjoy marketing, advertising. And so I've found really innovative ways to get around the cheese. Most of my work for the past 15 years has avoided one of the toppings on pizza I hate the most, which is sales. And I've avoided that by writing contracts and grants with organizations to fund my work so that it's free in the community. And so I won't get into that, but I've found a way around some of my aversions. So today's workshop is all about business ideas that are under $100, because I want you guys to be able to experiment and take risks without a huge timeline and without a huge commitment to the process and procedure that sometimes halts the creativity and the ideas. So I hope that kind of makes sense. Give me a thumbs up in the chat or smiley face or something if that kind of makes sense to you guys. About like business can look different to lots of different people. And luckily, you guys have IDRS here that you can do consulting with for free if you meet their guidelines, which hopefully at the end Mark will share with you guys. But they provide business consulting to help you with all of those toppings that you don't like. but I don't want you to give up on the business idea if that's just like so overwhelming. Okay. So let me show you what some business toppings are that you guys might want to think about removing. Okay. So we're doing the Lunchable version of cheese pizza today, right? The cheap, it's not even cooked. We're just going to, do the simple baby step of business today for ideas that are under $100. So we're not even at the cheese pizza. Oops, where did it go? We're not even at the cheese pizza here. We're at the Lunchable. My kids love those. I don't know why. They're so disgusting to me, but they love them. All right. So here's some business toppings I want you guys to think of. This is a great one to screenshot and really think about. Do you want a business that's active or passive? I'm going to share both ideas with you today. And what that means is while you're sleeping, you're making money. So every day I make about $3 from a passive business that I have, and I'll share that with you later. And that's been for about 8 years. I make about $3 a day. Not a lot of money, but it pays my phone bill every month, right? Which is awesome. We want to think about home versus a location. Like, do you want to be working from home, or do you physically want to go to another location or even have a storefront? Do you want a job or a business idea where you're sitting or standing? These are such important things to think about, because sometimes we'll get an idea and it'll be so exciting, and then it's like, oh shoot, I didn't think about that, and now I hate it. So for me, one of the business ideas that I'll share later had me digging holes in the sand for like 4 hours. So talk about like sitting or standing. I prefer to sit. Like, this is my ideal work environment, right here in front of the camera, sitting. That venture is something I only do maybe once a year. Do you want to be outside or inside? Do you want to use computers or no computers? Some of you are completely technology adverse, and that's okay. You don't have to know technology to get started in business. I want to kind of take a minute to talk about some cautions as you're thinking about business and entrepreneurship. There are a lot of people out there really trying to sell products to you and sell services and sell programs and systems. And recently I did have a friend that invited me to like this business seminar thing. And I was like, oh, I totally don't want to go, but because you're going and you invited me, I'll listen in so I can support you. And it was exactly kind of what I thought. They posted ads on Facebook saying like, oh, I don't know what they said, because she's the one that invited me and gave me a free ticket. I didn't see the advertising, but I'm assuming it was like, do you want to take control of your future? Do you want wealth? Do you want to work from home? Do you want to create a lifestyle that you love? Those types of things. And it was on Facebook. Well, I sat in on the workshops, and it was by Zoom, and I literally scanned through the Zoom profiles of people, and my heart broke, because almost like, I don't know, 60%, 70% of the people in that Zoom room were 60 plus. Okay. Now there are 60-plus-year-olds that are awesome on the computer, but a lot of those people were struggling with the Zoom. They didn't know how to get to the Zoom rooms. They didn't know what a hyperlink was. And guess what the system was that they were selling these people? To be part of a coaching program that teaches you how to do online funnels and marketing systems. Okay, so it's like there are people out there trying to have you love a topping that you already know is not your thing. We're all adaptable, we can all learn, but starting a business is hard enough when you're working way outside of your scope of things. And so that's the first thing they were going to run people through. Get an idea, and we're going to teach you online marketing. Well, like, if you barely know how to use a computer, that's going to be hard, right? And so, they promise to be there and hold your hand, but I really want to caution you guys, like, be cautious of what's out there on Facebook. You guys have IDRS here. to help you with a lot of free tools and services if you qualify, or they can refer you somewhere if you don't. And we want to stick to the business toppings that are your expertise at first. Okay. So when you're going through this list, I want you to pick like 3 that are like your jam, the things that you know fit you and you love. Okay. We can all learn to do things, but we don't want to start with that. So hopefully that makes sense. Do you guys want to handle money or not handle money? Do you want customer service or no customer service? I always think it's so classic that we take the grumpy teenager who hates people and their first job is fast food at the drive-through window. It's like, that doesn't make sense to me, right? So if you don't like customer service, if you don't like people, like we really want to think of a business idea that doesn't have you doing that for 24% of your week. Maybe it's a little bit, but it's not the whole pizza, right? Do you want something that's a daily routine or that it's a variety? I'm a variety person. I can't do the same thing day after day after day. It drives me mad. I have to do something new pretty much daily. I have to be kind of bouncing around doing all sorts of stuff. Do you guys want to manage people, employees, or not? That's something that I'm looking at now and thinking about, like, oh, I'm getting to a step now where I may need to get into that. And so I'm working with my local SBA to start thinking about that. I may need to hire some contractors to work with me or some part-time staff. And that's new. And I've survived for 15 years not having to do that. Flexible schedule versus a set schedule. I'm all about the flexible schedule. That's the beauty of being an entrepreneur for me. And the reason a lot of entrepreneurs go into business for themselves. But I really want you to think hard and long about that, because some entrepreneurs end up working 24/7 with whatever idea they come up with and end up failing or regretting it, or their family work-life balance just gets so off kilter because they're having to do everything. 1, to save costs, right? Or 2, because they're just in startup and they don't have the cash flow or the capacity or sales yet to really hire a lot of people. So you want to think about, how many hours you want to be working. If you want to create a lifestyle where it's 8 to 5 still, or do you want to be able to work at 2 a.m. while you're rocking your baby back to sleep, right? Do you want a job where you're driving or not driving? You're having to make phone calls or no phone calls? I hate phone calls. They're like the death of me. And so I've really ran my business through email or doing a presentation and inviting people to see it so that I get business from it versus having to call people, cold calling. That's so hard for me. Noise versus no noise. That may seem trivial, but let's say some of you that mentioned construction and building things. Maybe you do it once a week right now out in the garage for fun, and you're going to get into it 40 hours a week. And maybe you're going to be having to wear like ear protection for 40 hours a week, or maybe you're not. Like, are you going to be able to do that? I could never work in a place like a Starbucks, for example, because it's so loud, all the clinking, clanging, the machines, the air conditioning going on and off when people walk in the door. And that, again, seems so trivial. And it's like, oh, you're being so picky. There's barely any jobs. Take a job, any job, or whatnot. But again, you're there for 24% of your week if you're working 40 hours a week. So we really want to think about things like noise or smell, right? So if some of you are, yes, the steaming and frothing, if some of you are thinking like, oh, I really want to get into resin pouring, but it makes you gag and you feel like you're going to throw up every time you do it, like, are you going to be able to do that for 40 hours or however long you need to make it a thriving business, right? Let's talk about sales versus no sales. Do you want, it's interesting because, I've been doing career education for a long time and it's kind of hard to sell to people. But now that I'm doing Minecraft career education, everyone's like, what is that? Tell me more. I want to hear, right? And it's like, oh, I found the thing that people want to hear about. And it's really exciting because I feel like I can do those phone calls a little bit easier, or I can do those meetings a little bit easier because they don't feel so salesy, because people are genuinely curious, right? But think about, for you, do you want something you have to sell people? And if you are selling something, is it something you believe in, right? Or is it just something random? So sometimes a lot of, like, if you're in a Facebook group for stay-at-home businesses, a lot of times this, you'll just look at the profits or how much it costs to start up, but is that literally something you would be passionate about selling and want to buy yourself? If not, that's really important to think about. Do you want to be having to mail stuff or not mail stuff? So my daughter got a little taste of that. I'll talk a little bit about her business venture during COVID, and she loved it until she had to mail everything that she sold, right? And it was just like, oh, I hate this. And it affected her business, that she didn't want to do the mailing, right? Everything was late and people were mad. And so I had to step in, since she was only 14 or 13, and help out, because she realized this was a huge business topping aversion. Do you want paperwork or no paperwork? Inventory, no inventory? Do you want something where you're the only one doing it, or there's lots of competition? Obviously, a lot of times we don't want competition. But like if you're selling Avon, right? There's like 10 other vendors in your town. What's a makeup company you could bring in that's different? Maybe you're still selling makeup, but it's different, right? All right, so those are kind of our business aversions. So I want you guys to type in the chat. Let me leave it up here. Type in the chat the 3 things that you do not want in your business as an entrepreneur. The 3 things that it's like, no, please, that's the topping I do not want on my pizza. No inventory. Yes. So right now I am staring at my craft wall, which has now become my eBay wall. I love treasure hunting and finding cool stuff, but I hate listing it. I hate taking pictures of it. I hate storing it, and I hate selling it. So I really should get out of that little fun side gig, but I find too many cool treasures. So I haven't been able to give it up yet. It's a fun little hobby, but I'm staring at all my inventory. No weird, stinky smells. Yes to a flexible schedule. Yes to a flexible schedule. No competition. No cleaning up all the time. Oh, yes. I'm hosting Minecraft here twice a week with 18 kids in my house. And it's not even a business. I'm losing money having all these children in my home, and all the money their parents give, or that they fundraise, goes to pay their teen coach or supplies for things we're doing. But yeah, it's a lot of cleanup every week. My whole house is turned into just a Minecraft zone. Variety of tasks, customer service, no phone, no competition, no noise. Making money sleeping. I think that's something someone wants. All right, so you guys have a little bit of a sense of, this is what I want, this is what I don't want. And that's really important to keep in front of you. So either take a screenshot or write down some of those. All right, we're getting to the fun stuff soon. All right, so capitalizing on geography. This is kind of the beauty of this workshop in particular, is a lot of you are here from rural areas. So in the chat, why don't you guys just type where you live if you want, or the county or the city, just so everyone can say hello, see where you're at. All right, Esther and Jamie are definitely rural, and Lone Pine, yes, Keisha. So rural to me, growing up in the Owens Valley myself in Bishop, means 4 hours from a university and a medical facility, 3.5, 4 hours, right? That's rural to me. I live in a place now where my son goes to elementary school surrounded by cows, and you can't walk to school, right? And there's only like 2 classes per grade, and everyone talks about, oh, that school is rural, that city is rural, and it's not. Like, I mean, there's like 24,000 people that live here, I think, and we literally touch city after city after city. It's just, it's not rural, even though there are rural, like, you know, farms and vineyards and all of that close by. But when you're 3 or 4 hours from a city or a medical hospital, that's rural, because you don't have those readily available services, and it's gold for entrepreneurship. If I still lived in the Bishop area, I would be running so many entrepreneurial ideas because there's so many needs there, and I think it would be really, really fun. So I hope that is exciting to you guys to think about, like, wow, you mean there's actually business ideas here? There's actually employment ideas here for us in a rural area? Yes, absolutely. And it's not even all online or remote. It's literally in your area, in your town. So we're going to be talking about that. And for those of you that are not rural, these ideas still apply. It's more exciting if you're rural. All right, welcome to everyone, everywhere that you are. That's amazing. So many cool places. Is anyone else's internet lagging, or is everyone doing okay? You might be in a rural area with laggy internet. That's a problem. And how can you solve that, right? Like, how could you find a way to, okay, yours is spotty. Yeah. So one of the things, let's just talk about that in a rural area. Yeah, your communication is often limited or laggy or spotty. And so if you can find a solution to that by, like, oh, this router helps us be able to not have spotty internet, that's literally a business someone could start, right? Is like, hey, in my home, I went from having spotty, unreliable internet to now I have internet that doesn't cut out. We're able to do Zooms, no problem. We can have 5 computers on. Like, someone could literally make a business of coming into people's home and helping them upgrade to work within the geographic area. I run 18 computers on the router I have in my house and the internet package I have, and I have no idea why. It works, but it does. I'm not savvy enough to go and teach people that, but yeah, if in your area someone can solve that problem, that's amazing, because it's a huge, huge need. And so those are the types of things we're going to be talking about. So geography, what is unique about where you live? So these are some questions you might want to take a picture of and start asking yourself. I know in the Owens Valley, you guys live near the highest and the lowest point in the continental United States. Like, that is pretty special, right? The lowest point and the highest point, Death Valley, Mount Whitney. That is so unique to that area, and it creates so many different opportunities geographically. What do you love to do there, and what do tourists love to do there? So I want you guys to think about, like, what are the things that you wouldn't be able to do if you didn't live there? Like, what's unique to that area, and what brings tourists to your area? So, if you live in an area that has 4 seasons, how can you start to think about that as an entrepreneur? Like, what are people coming to our area for, right? Or what do I love to do here that's so unique to the area? I want you guys to start thinking about what's missing in your area. So I'll use the Owens Valley, since there's several of you here, as an example. Kmart is now gone, right? And then one of the side gigs that I have is, I love, like I said, going thrifting and buying estate lots and finding treasures. All year I gather winter sports equipment, not equipment, more clothing, winter clothing, and I kind of specialize in, like, kids winter clothing. And I drop it all off at the Gear Exchange in Bishop, or I have my mom, because she still lives there, drop it all off for me. And I just put how much I want to charge for it. They take a very small percentage, like 15. percent, I think, or something. And then I just call them every few months and I'm like, hey, what's my balance? Can you send it to my PayPal? When Kmart went out of business, my sales skyrocketed because I think Value Sports was also gone. But then you guys got a big five. So now my sales have gone down, right? And then now you guys have a Dollar General and you have a Dollar Tree. And so, you know, my sales are not as good as they used to be. So I'm kind of getting out of that game. And I kind of know the things like, okay, maybe this is more expensive or not as plentiful, or I'll only buy certain things now, not everything. But that's something that was missing there and that I capitalized on, right? Like think about with the lack of a Kmart, what's something that people might need in the middle of the night, right? Or they can't wait 2 or 3 days for Amazon and it's not sold at a Rite Aid or a Dollar Tree, but it was only at a Kmart. Like what's missing? What role can people fill? Yeah, Esther, you do that with your books at Spellbinder. Awesome. Yes, taking your used books into a bookstore and getting the cash and the credit. Yeah, my daughter does that as well. You guys would be best friends to get books that she loves there. And we buy all the ones she already has that we know are good sellers to do that with. We buy them super cheap. What are the reasons people move? In rural areas, a lot of times people move to go to school, right? So what are ways that you could help facilitate that locally? Could you start some sort of a training program that people wouldn't need to leave to go to school and they would find it enticing to stay if they could get trained locally? Some people move out of the area for medical reasons. They get older, right? So I saw some of you were from Gardnerville or Carson City. People leave the Owens Valley and move up towards you to be closer to Renown because it's like we need to be closer as we're getting older to our doctors. We can't be traveling 3 hours to go see our doctors anymore. Some people travel out of town for sports. They travel out of town for prom dresses. They travel out of town for shopping. They travel out of town to get construction supplies cheaper, right? Like there's lots of reasons people travel out of town to get animals that they need, maybe like for 4-H or, you know, all sorts of different things. Yes, people also move out of town because there's no housing. And so how could you help with the housing situation, right? By offering a room in your home. So there's so many different niches that you could find based on these types of questions. Let's see, how far is the next town? And we're going to use that as we talk about some of these ideas going through. What do people order online? One of the other things to think about are the largest businesses that already exist. So if that's something that people would like a copy of, I will put my email here, and I think I have it at the end of the PowerPoint. If you're from a rural area and you would like to see the largest businesses in your county, please email me because they're always not brick and mortar places. So for example, in rural areas, you may have construction companies that exist and that have like a license in your county, but their headquarters is not physically there, but they may show up on a list that I can pull from a database I have, because now that's a company you can go to as a consultant or a contractor and say like, hey, these are the services I offer if you need subcontractors in this area. So knowing the largest businesses is really important because they may bring staff from out of town when they could hire someone local, but you don't know they exist and they don't know that people are there wanting to work. And so sometimes we can pull a business list and it's like, oh, I had no idea that this company exists. So let me give you an example. Sometimes in rural areas, I can run a business list, not always, but sometimes a movie production company will show up. And it's because they have a business license in that area. They may only film movies there twice a year, But now you can reach out to them and be like, oh, I live in the area. I would love to help when you're in town with catering. I'm a caterer. How can I get that contract with you? Rather than them bringing their own caterer for all of their staff. It's cheaper to hire someone that's already there, right? And has everything already there to provide. So it's kind of an out of the box approach. But I want you guys thinking in that, because as we get to some interest areas in a few minutes, subcontracting with businesses is a great way to be an entrepreneur. What that means is looking around at your local businesses and figuring out what they need. So for example, we'll talk about it in more detail, but let's say that you're really good at building websites. You can go and look at every business in your county, all of their websites, or who doesn't have websites, right? So make a list of who doesn't have websites to start with. And now you can approach them as a business owner. So rather than running ads like I make websites, it's going to businesses in your area that do not have websites and specifically saying to them, you can contract with me for $100 a month to maintain a website for you. Or here's a demo of the homepage I made for your business. I saw you don't have a website. I saw you don't have a Facebook. Here's a demo account that I would love to set up for you. It costs X amount of money, right? So we really want to capitalize as entrepreneurs on businesses that are already there. Let's say you have a cleaning business. I can run you a database. I sent you my email, happy to do this for you for free, run you a list of the largest businesses in your area. And now as a cleaning business, you can go approach them and say, hey, I see that you have a facility. I have the square footage that shows in the database. I see you have a facility that's, 2,900 square feet. I would love to carpet clean for you. Here would be the price for 2,900 square feet, right? And so really harnessing the businesses that already exist and how you could come in and do some services for them. So we'll talk about that more. How can we search the businesses? There's a website, or not a website, there. So I can do it for you for free. You can just send me an email. I send it right above. Whoops, I sent it directly to IDRS. Let me send it to everyone. Here's my email. Just send me the county that you live in and I'll pull you the largest businesses. If you want to do it yourself, there is a database called, hold on, they just changed the name, Data Axle. And I say that I steal it, but I don't steal it. I borrow it and use it at libraries nationwide. And I just moved from library to library because it's super expensive and not all libraries can afford it. So, oh, IDRS can do that as well. Awesome. Okay, so they could definitely do that for you as well. But I use Data Axle for free through libraries. Right now I'm using it through the City of Thousand Oaks through my brother's library card because my other libraries have gotten rid of Data Axle because it's too expensive. There's another one called A to Z databases. But it's super expensive as an individual, and I don't even know if they have individual accounts anymore. Oh, great. Lynn in market research can pull that. Perfect. So definitely reach out to Lynn and she can do that for you. Okay. What do businesses subcontract? Right now in the Owens Valley, it just closed. Owens Valley Career Development Center was advertising on their website through an RFP. An RFP is called a request for proposal. And that means they need a service and they're opening it up to the public to provide it. And guess what the services were? They were providing, I think, fitness classes and horseback riding lessons for the summer. So let's say that you love yoga, you love weight loss, you love health coaching. That could have been something as an entrepreneur that you put in a proposal that you would teach yoga classes, healthy cooking classes, fitness classes, weight management all summer for X amount of dollars, right? So as a subcontractor, you can apply for an RFP, right? Let's say that you have a horse you can apply to teach horseback riding lessons. You obviously have to get insurance for the horseback riding lessons, and jump through some other hoops as well, I'm sure. But RFPs at businesses are also something to look at. Let's say that you do paving. Sometimes you'll see big companies or organizations putting out an RFP for paving a parking lot, right? And so if that's something you can do and you can bid cheaper than other companies, you can get that RFP. So RFPs, I also saw one, you guys, it was so cool. There was, I think it was a tribe, and I don't remember where, but I sent it out to some of you that might be on the call. There was a tribe that had an RFP to bead a crown for their Native American princess. And so they were looking to hire someone. They wanted you to put together a design and put in an RFP. So if you love beading, you know, you might be able to find these types of things. Or if you know every year that they buy a beaded piece, you can go and say, who do you buy that from? Can I also put in a proposal? Right? So it's just being aware of where people are spending their money. And I'll give more practical examples as we get started. I got to move on to our ideas because we have so many. What's being written about in the newspaper? What are people complaining about? Those are great clues about businesses or entrepreneurial ideas or services that people need. Also pay attention to statistics of what comes and goes quickly in your community. If a arcade comes and goes quickly in your community, you need to find out why before you go and just start a business with an arcade, right? Or if you see that a Thai food restaurant has tried to start up 3 times in the last 10 years, that may not be a niche of food that people are interested in. So you really want to pay attention. You can go learn about business records from your local county clerk. You can find out that new businesses started. The database that Lynn has, the database I have, will show businesses that are new or closed. And so you're able to kind of do some research. And then lastly, before we move on here, is who's retiring or who has passed away. And I kind of have a joke. It's a little poor humor, but I always joke that in a rural area, the best way to job search is in the obituary, because often, like, there's a hole left, right? And so it's like, oh, or that person's retiring. Now that job's going to be available, right? Because in a rural area, there aren't a lot of opportunities. And so you want to be thinking about, as people are getting older and looking towards retirement, even talking to them about who's going to take your business on after you retire. Are you closing, selling, passing it on? Like, what does that look like, right? Sometimes there's great opportunities to be mentored and kind of take over something for someone and make it your own after they leave. So just kind of another tip. So any questions about anything we've talked about so far? Because we are going to launch into our 15 interest areas and try to get it done in 40 minutes. So any quick questions in the chat? Go ahead and type them. So we talked about interests, we talked about the things you don't want to do, and we talked about geography being a real benefit. Okay, I don't see any questions, so I'm going to go ahead and move on. So the way this works is I have identified 15 interest areas, and it includes pretty much everything that you guys mentioned up above in the chat. And I might go quicker on some areas and slower on others. And that's based on experience, because people often share very similar interests. So I have a lot of examples in some areas and fewer in others, just based statistically on doing this for so long. So we're going to start with animals. And remember, these are ideas that are quick. They're things you could literally start this week. They're things you could start in a month. They're things that do not require a lot of cash. They don't require a lot of inventory. They don't require a business license sometimes. They're great ideas for your teens, for yourself. If you're already working but want side hustle money, if you want extra money for summer to go on a vacation. Like I mentioned, I have I don't know, I have like 20 different hustles and side hustles and gigs that I do on any regular basis. Because I like to be creative and just try new things. And when something sticks, I might do it more often or I might not. And so that's really what this is set up for. All right, so I'm going to go super quick through these sections and kind of keep an eye on the time. We have about 40 minutes. I'd like to leave a little time for questions, so maybe I'll try to get it done in 30 minutes. But we're going to start with animals. So many of you loved animals, so here's some fun ideas. Some of you in your areas have very specific festivals, conventions, gatherings, meetings of animal-related topics. So for example, my brother crochets, and I saw a turtle festival was coming to his area. So I sent him pictures of turtle crochet designs to make little cozies for turtles. He didn't do it, but I thought, wow, what a great idea, right? So for example, in the Owens Valley, you guys have mule days, right? So here's a picture of a horseshoe with some horsehair, and you could put intricate beading on it to make something really cool and special for all the tourists that are coming. Let me see. Mule hair, love Lumpine's Pet Parade. You need mule hair, yes. So you want to think about in your local area, what are some niche types of things that may happen? Opening day of fishing, right? What's something that you could do? You could literally get worms, night crawlers, right? And set up a little booth on the highway as people are heading up to opening day of fishing. You can really capitalize on things coming up in your community. If there is a pet parade or a pet contest coming up, could you sew some little outfits, right? Some other ideas are pet photography. Every holiday, if there are children meeting with Santa, the Easter Bunny, like whatever, set up a little booth for pets. People love that kind of stuff. And so it's really awesome to incorporate your love of photography and pets, have a set of costumes that people can do, have some props set up. And you know what? You don't even have to take the pictures. You could literally have all the props set up, have a cute backdrop, and charge people $5 to use a self-serve selfie booth for their pets. Super simple. The Big Pine students sell worms. I remember that, they do. That's awesome for opening day of fishing. Here's some other ideas. You can set up a dog agility course that people could use. Like, let's say you have a little bit of land. Oops, sorry, guys. Okay, let's say you have a little bit of land. You could set up a dog agility course that people could use for donations, or you could have events there. So you could say, hey, I'm hosting, or you could even do it at the park. Hey, I'm hosting a park that allows dogs, or a space that allows dogs. I'm setting up a dog agility course. It's $5 to enter, and the winner will get this pet basket with all these treats, right? And people will love to compete, and all day long you can have time slots to basically make it a fun little competition for all the pet owners. I'm going to minimize the chat really quickly because I'm like, have so many ideas, and I'm like, oh wait, what is that? I want to see what you guys are doing. So I'll respond at the end of each section, just so I can stay focused. The other thing is that people love their animals so much that they will take a pet CPR and first aid class. You can get certified yourself online for under $100, and then you could teach pet CPR and first aid. More people will go and take pet CPR and first aid than they probably will infant CPR and first aid. It's pretty crazy, but definitely something that you could offer. You can specialize in dog or cat or pet birthday parties, or making treats for those types of things. Even the holidays, specializing in making stocking stuffers for pets, things like that. An Easter egg hunt for dogs at the park. People love these kinds of things. And these are like one-off pop-up events that you can do, or you can turn them into like a year-round type of thing that you're doing. Dog walking is still something that especially like the elderly can really use, or people that commute or are busy could definitely use dog sitting. People that live in apartments often will need a dog sitter for the day because they don't want to leave their dog home to bark. So if you have a big yard, you love animals, you don't have any zoning things against it, it's something that you could look into. Dog training. These are all just amazing ideas. One thing I didn't mention going into this is if you're really bad at advertising and sales and you don't like collecting money from people or charging people, a way around that is to run programming that I'm talking about, like events and things, through your local parks and recreation, through the city, or maybe even your community college if they have like a community class option of classes that can be offered through them. So for example, my daughter as an 8-year-old taught balloon twisting through the city parks and recreation. She charged each person $40 to come to a 2-hour class, and it had kids and adults in the class to learn how to balloon twist. And Parks and Rec took a percentage. I think they took like 25%. Some places take up to 50%, but they do all the advertising and the registration and insurance and give you the space, and you just show up and teach. You can do that for, like, you could have a pet Christmas party, right? Or you could do the pet photography through them, but they're going to take a percentage. But definitely meet with your local parks and recreation department. They're the ones that send you flyers in the mail sometimes saying we're having all these activities. You can sign up to register, like youth soccer or swimming at the or jazzercise, you know, all sorts of different things. But talk to them about starting to offer one-day events or ongoing types of things. You could even start like a dog club where people get together and go on a hike and walk with their dogs. Then you can run it through Parks and Rec. So they're taking all the registration and the money, and people just meet you at the location. So a simple way around doing all the toppings that you don't want to do on your pizza. You guys can start a gerbil contest of some sort. My daughter literally had a rat and went to a rat show and entered a bunch of competitions with her rat and won quite a few competitions. People will come to all sorts of crazy events. I remember when my mom was little, they used to have turtle racing competitions, right? You guys can get into making stuffed animals for pets. So over here on the right under the one is a dog, and then the stuffed animal of the dog that people are making. This is one of my favorite ideas for rural communities that I think people would absolutely love. Over here on the left is getting into pet cremation art. So you guys can go to your local veterinarians and ask them what opportunities they have for pet owners to cremate their animals. They may contract with a company in another state, and people can take their ashes and get them back as a heart or as a paw print or as, you know, a cement stepping stone, or they might just offer like cremation services where people can put the ashes in an urn. You can go to them and say, hey, I would love to start doing resin, pet ash or pet hair art for our local community. What would that look like? I could give you, you know, 20% of every sale for recommending it to your customers. And I love this idea because it's something even teenagers could do. Resin cremation or pet hair pieces sell for like anywhere from 20 to 50 bucks or more, how intricate they are, and super easy, not a lot of overhead or costs to get involved in it, and fast, and you can get super creative with it. So you can go on Pinterest, you can go on Etsy and look at cremation art for animals as well as people. So another idea is to go to your funeral home and ask what cremation art services they have. And again, you would give them a percentage for recommending what you can provide. And I won't get into that too much. I might talk about it under art again. You can also go to your local veterinarian and let them know that you dog sit sick animals, and you would maybe want to take pet CPR and first aid and be certified in that. But for example, if someone has a dog that has surgery, the animal hospital may not have the space or staff to keep them, especially over the weekend. And if people have work or they're out of town and they have a sick animal, they may be willing to pay someone to sit with them for the day, because they can't do that themselves. Also, some animals have to take medication on a daily basis. And so when people go out of town, they're always looking for pet sitters that have experience administering medication. And so I know my brother-in-law, when he would travel, he had 2 very rare cats that had huge medical problems, and he would go out of town and he would hire a pet nurse to come because it was IV medication that had to be given, and it was very expensive. So something to think about. You can do pet oil paintings of pets, especially for memorials. If you guys incorporate the ashes again of pets or people into paintings, there's a whole process of doing it that's respectful. And there's people that show you their process online, but that piece of art now goes from, $50, $100. You can sell it back to them for $300, $400 because the ashes are incorporated into the pet portrait or the human portrait. If you are really good at shearing sheep or branding cows or those types of things, look into your local community about who are they hiring to do that. If you have goats on your property, can you rent them out to people to eat their dead grass and their bushes? Can you rent them out to the Bureau of Land Management or different places for fire prevention to eat down the crops? So with animals, again, there's like so many ways to get really creative and think about how can I take this love and passion and expand it as an entrepreneur. So I have a gazillion more, but we'll stop there. Do you guys have questions about animals? And we'll move on to the next section. All right, you can build dog houses, customize dog houses for people, so many cool things. I have a really good little side hustle selling animal cages. I always pick them up at estate locks for like $5, and they resell for anywhere from 30 to 50 bucks, or pet fencing. So I'll pick them up for $5 in online estate lots and, just flip them on Facebook or Craigslist. And so that's something in your local area. I don't know if a lot of rural areas still have pet stores and whatnot. Those close pretty often. And so people often need cages to transport their animals. You can even rent those types of things. All right, tourists also need pet sitters, right? If they want to go out skiing for the day, but they brought their pet, they need pet sitters. All right, we'll move on to the next one. Cars. In a rural area with snow, putting on chains for people. Some places require you to have a permit, some do not. One of the best ways as an entrepreneur to get away with an idea that you have and test it is to offer things for free for a donation. And you can kind of get around the permits or permission a lot of times to try it. And then if you want to take it more seriously and it's profitable, you could do it a different way. So for example, if you start picking up chains in the summer at yard sales, and in the winter, you have a booth somewhere on a highway before people get to the snow that says free chains for a donation of any size, right? And there's a chain restriction up ahead. People are going to stop at your booth and they're going to gladly give you a donation for those chains that maybe you picked up for $1 or $2, versus if you're trying to sell it, you may need a permit. If you're offering to even put them on, you may or may not need a permit depending on your highway and what they require. But if you're offering to even put it on for free and you have free chains, people are going to give you a huge tip. Because they're going to think that's super amazing. And even if there's competition, they're going to come to you versus the one that's charging $800. No, they don't charge $800, but a lot. Some of you have old trucks and vehicles sitting around and you don't know what to do with them. You can turn them into amazing furniture and art. So it's something to think about. Art jewelry, or I mean car jewelry. You can take intricate pieces of cars and make them into jewelry. So you could literally just go to junkyards and pull off things and turn them into really cool jewelry. You can offer to do detailing at businesses. So like if you have a large hospital, it could even be an employee incentive. So you could go in and say, hey, do you guys do a monthly employee of the month? I would love to, instead of you buying them flowers or something, how about something really meaningful like car detailing? You could go to every single business and say, instead of, giving your employees something they don't want for Christmas or whatever, here's what I'm offering. I can come in and do it at work while they're here. It can be something that you offer them. You can get into reselling Matchbox cars. Online estate sales, you will find all sorts of cool things. You can plan. In the area that I live, every week there's an online estate sale closing almost daily. But let's say you're planning to go to a city for a medical appointment, you can look at your online estate auctions in that area and bid on a bunch of stuff up to $100, because we're talking about $100. And when you go to your doctor's appointment out of town, bring it all back with you and resell it online or locally. And you can pick up some amazing stuff. I love buying estate lots that I can't see everything, because there's always like the person who was sorting and taking pictures got tired and they didn't want to go through everything. And I love finding all sorts of stuff at the bottom that they didn't take pictures of that is worth a lot of money. So for example, once I bought doll furniture and I could only see 2 or 3 pieces, and it only went for like $5 because you could only see a few pieces that weren't very good. But I saw a bunch of boxes that they didn't open, and that lot ended up selling for over $800 after I sold each piece individually. They just got lazy and didn't take pictures of them all. Or recently I bought a whole shelf of pesticides that I just recycled or threw away because they were old and scary looking. But on the shelf was a space heater that a company was offering $250 for you to return because it was dangerous. And I didn't know that, but I knew that I could sell it for like 50 or 60 bucks. It was this vintage little space heater. And so I bought the whole lot of pesticides just for that space heater. So with the Matchbox cars, sometimes, again, they'll get lazy. They'll take a picture just of the top of the box, but you don't know what's inside. So you can plan online estate lot buys. You buy things, it's just an online auction. You pay like $5, $10, whatever you bid on it, and you'll get, a whole bunch of things. And you can plan it with when you're traveling out of town and bring it back to sell or sell online. One of the other ideas I love is planning events in your community. So you can plan car shows and charge people, like $50 to enter the car show, and then there's a prize or several prizes, but you keep all the profit. You might need to check with your local chamber of commerce and your city to see if you need an event permit, but definitely something to think about. Or you can start like a poker run and have people enter like a poker run where they get to play a game or do a scavenger hunt while driving their car around. So lots of fun ideas if you like cars. Any questions about cars? And I will move on to video games. We're just going really fast. So many fun ideas. I camp in the bed of my truck. If I make a bed in it permanently, I can make my garage my bedroom. Yes, absolutely. That'd be so cool. And that's another thing too, like with cars and vehicles and stuff. Like if you guys have a vintage trailer, if you have an RV, like you can rent that space out. A lot of people make a living or a side hustle. Instead of paying storage for their motorhome or trailer or something like that, they'll park it somewhere and just rent it out to people year round. Or if you have land on your property, you can make a little Airbnb. So definitely something to think about. We also, in our community, we have a VW Bug that's turned into a photo booth. So it goes to all the weddings and it goes to all the birthday parties and events And it's a little photo booth. People come in and take pictures inside, and it has all the fun props and things. So you can do lots of fun stuff with your cars. All right, video games. You can teach the elderly at your local retirement home or community center or through Parks and Recreation how to do Wii Sports. It's huge. There's even leagues for Wii Sports now for the elderly. It gives them a chance to recreate doing something they love that they physically cannot do anymore. This is a little bit of my Minecraft stuff that I'm doing right now. You guys, if you love video games, you can become a video game logo designer. This Pixel Pig design here is something that we paid an artist $40 to make. It was literally just a little drawing that the kids made of what they wanted their logo to be, and then the artist created it. So you can go online and offer, if you love video games and you're an artist, you can be making esports logos. And some good websites for that are places like Fiverr. Fiverr is a website where you can offer all sorts of services that people can pay starting at $5 and going up. Here's an interesting one. This little animal or doll here is my son's video game skin for Minecraft, and it's been turned into a stuffed animal. He thinks it came from the North Pole from the elves for Christmas, but I paid a woman $40 to make this. I sent her his skin that he uses for his video game, and she prints it out on fabric and sews it. Super, super cool. We made Minecraft cupcakes. These are made by kids out of fondant, but people paid $20 for this box right here. If you guys can get up on all the video games the kiddos play and you love cupcakes, try getting into that, because for birthday parties, if you're not near a Vons or a bakery that does specialty cupcakes, parents will pay you to do all the video game characters and what's cool. You guys can start your own video game competitions. So if you have a bunch of, the website for the logo design, yes, it's called Fiverr. Let me see how to spell it super quick, because it's an interesting spelling. Fiverr. And there's a whole bunch of websites like that, but Fiverr is a great one. And it's called like esports logos. And Fiverr, you could sell all sorts of stuff. And there's other ones called like Upwork. You can become a freelancer and do jobs for people. You bid on jobs and tell people how much you would charge to do different services that they need. So some fun different places to be a freelancer. With the video games, you can host tournaments. So if you have a bunch of gaming equipment already sitting around, you can host birthday parties for parents. Like, hey, I'll host an Xbox birthday party and supervise up to 6 kids in an Xbox tournament. Oh, what is the skin stuffed doll? So this is a Minecraft skin, and you can make it on, let me see what it's called. There's a website where kids make their skins. It's called minecraftskins.com. We're actually purchasing a 3D printer, and some of the Owens Valley youth are going to get to print their Minecraft skins as a 3D printed like Lego type creature. We hope this summer. That's kind of our plan. So that's going to be super fun. And those Minecraft 3D printed skins sell for $25 if you hire a company to do it. So we're going to give kids the opportunity to learn how to do it themselves on a 3D printer. So very fun. But you can host a video game tournament even, like, let's say you have a garage, you have a video game system set up in there, you can charge people $20 to come over on a Friday night, have a tournament, and people can win a prize, right? And that's something you could be running all the time, even through Parks and Rec. Setting up sort of tournaments that people enter and are advertised quarterly, or a league of some sort. All right, so let's move on to kids. Lots of ideas with kids will be intermixed into the other activities as we go through, or other interest areas. But in the interest of time, I'll just mention a few here. I mentioned earlier that do you want to work outside or inside or stand or sit, I was digging holes in the ground. But in one day, I was making about $600 pre-selling tickets to dig up rocks and fossils at the beach. I live by the beach. And so I was literally hiding stuff in the beach, selling people plots for $30, and then they would come find their plot and dig it up. I've been wanting to try it with hiding foreign coins all over the beach or at a park and charging people to come with their metal detectors. That's why I left the Owens Valley for the beach. Not really, but yes. It's very expensive here. I'd rather not live here, but my kids do not want to move. But looking at the beach idea here, I was making maybe $10 a hole and putting about $20 worth of product in. But then I got around not having a permit for a long time, but then the city said, hey, what are you doing? This is so cool, but you need a permit and we want to move you to another location because we want to make sure you're not burying anything where it could be confused with artifacts and different things. And so they gave me a plot that I could bury in, and they also gave me a list of what I could bury and what I couldn't. And so then my profit went down a little bit, but it was a great little venture and the kids loved it and it was really fun. So you can get super creative thinking about like, what could I do with kids to make money? And that idea came from a birthday party I threw for my daughter where we had like a dinosaur themed party and I hid bones in the ground and like dinosaurs and dinosaur poop and like all sorts of just fun like fossils and gems, and we did it like an archaeology dig. And then it was the kids had so much fun that it was like, how can I make money doing this, right? So all sorts of fun things that you can take that you already do with your kiddos and turn them into money. The other idea is if you're already taking your kids out this summer, how could you let another child tag along for $25, $50 for the day, right? If I lived near Disneyland, I would probably become a professional Disneyland nanny because I love Disneyland so much, not for like the rides and Disney and just all of that, but because I love seeing it through the child's eye and the new experiences all the time. And so I think it would be so fun to like literally have people meet me at the front gate, especially if they're already going to Disneyland, but they want to do adult stuff. I'll take your kid for 4 hours and be their nanny at Disneyland, right? It would be so much fun. So you guys can start thinking about that in your local area is like, what are the tourists doing? And what could you do with their kids while they're recreating? Or what are some families that are working this summer who would rather their kid go with you on an adventure, even out of town, right? Versus going to their grandma's house and being bored all day, right? Or going to childcare with 50 other kids and they're not happy there. So how could you take what you're already doing with your kids and let it pay for itself? So like we just went to America's Got Talent on Tuesday and we go to the auditions. It's super fun. And we took my daughter's friend. She had never been, but like if I lived close enough to something like that, I could literally, the tickets are free. I could fill a van full of kids and parents could pay me, $50 to take their kids for the day. And then I get to recreate too, right? So you want to start thinking of that. We have a local children's museum by us. That's a really great space and so much to do for all ages that I was thinking like, oh, I could meet tourists across the street. I gave this idea to my daughter's friend though, because I don't really want to do it. I think I'd get burnt out after a few times, but she's super excited. We were talking about it yesterday. She can meet tourists across the street at the park, walk their kids over to the museum, one family at a time, and the tourists can go surfing or to a winery, and she's at a public place with their kids, watching them for 4 hours, so they get to have a fun vacation too. So think about those fun things. Also, you can plan activities on school holidays when parents do not have childcare. So that's a great one to run through Parks and Rec as well. They can advertise it for you, take a little percentage, but you could do like a park day where you have water activities and you have crafts and you have snacks and you have some sports, and you could be at a public place where it doesn't have to be in your home, but maybe you can just have a few kiddos show up for a one-day activity through Parks and Rec, and they cover the insurance when you're using it through Park and Rec as well, which is a great idea. And I have to go faster. We're having too many ideas, not enough time. Kids love doing super fun things instead of super boring things at school. So there is a website called Teacher Pay Teacher where teachers literally go online and download fun curriculum in anything you can imagine. This is how I make $3 a day minimum passively while I sleep. I made Pokemon math like 8 years ago for my daughter, and I still sell it almost every single day on Teacher Pay Teacher. At least one copy, maybe at least 5 copies a week is what I'm selling at $3 or so profit. And so it's super cool because I'm sleeping and I made it 8 years ago. So you guys, let's say next time you're watching a movie with your child, you could literally make a movie scavenger hunt and upload it to Teacher Pay Teacher. If you're watching a Netflix documentary, you can make a quiz and upload it to Teacher Pay Teacher. So now the history teacher is going to show a documentary about World War II, and you just watched a series about it and made a quiz that you put on Teacher Pay Teacher. The teacher doesn't have to make the quiz, they can download yours and pay for it. And so many fun opportunities on Teacher Pay Teacher. This is also great for kids. My daughter has a PowerPoint she made in 2nd grade that she sells every Halloween. She makes maybe 10 or 15 bucks on it. And it was just some silly PowerPoint she made that is a game that teachers can play at Halloween. So fun stuff. Okay, I'm just gonna plow through this, you guys, because we have so many. Nature. You can learn to taxidermy fish for under $100. And now when you take people out fishing, you can also taxidermy their fish for them. You can also rent out your boat if you have a boat for people. One more on kids I wanted to mention super quick. Tourists don't always bring everything with them. You can also work with the local hotels to be a renting company. So you can have a crib, a high chair, a bouncy house thing. You could have kids' bikes, all of that stuff that you can rent out to tourists in a rural area or at a campground if they need something for their kiddos that they don't have. All right, with nature, you can teach yoga on the beach or at a mountain setting. You can take people on guided hikes. You can go to popular tourist places like sledding and have extra secondhand boots and gloves. You could bring hot chocolate and it can all be free for a donation of any size. You'll just want to make sure you have Venmo or PayPal because people may not have cash. But you won't need a permit to sell at those types of places generally speaking, as long as it's kind of a pop-up thing and you're doing it free for a donation of any size. You can also have sleds with you. A lot of tourists are like using cardboard or a lid of a garbage can because all the sleds were sold out. You can have cool sleds that they could rent right on site for a donation of any size. You can make topiary. You can take pictures and submit them to stock photography companies. Stock photography companies are places that will buy your photography and then people can use it unlimited with like a license or pay per use. And for any of these ideas, you could always message me if you need a little more detail since we're going fast here at the end. Taking people on guided tours of your local area cheaper than maybe other people are. So like to go on a fishing trip could be super expensive, hundreds of dollars, but you might just want to take someone out on your boat or take them to the lake and teach them to fish for a donation of any size. And people might give you 50 bucks and you're just fishing for the day with a new friend. So lots of fun things with nature, or you might take someone out rock climbing just to join you. But it's literally, they're just joining you. You're not like a formal instructor, you're just taking them to a cool place, kind of teaching them some techniques, and they can give you a donation at the end of the day. Let's talk about food really quickly. Again, a lot of times you need a permit. of course, but a good way to get around it is to give it for free for a donation of any size. I knew a chef who was trying out some food, some fusion experimental types of food where he was mixing different things, and he didn't have money to start a restaurant, but what he did was every Friday night on social media, he sold out of dinner at his house. And so he started hosting, 5, 10 people, and it turned into like 20 people in 2 settings. So he'd have an early dinner and a late dinner, and people would just come every Friday, like they would get reservations basically to come to a pop-up event at his house where he would serve the meal, and it was just a donation of any size. People like myself hate cooking and would love if like a neighbor or something would just cook extra for me. I tried to start it like, hey, let's start a neighborhood meal swap where like I'll do Mondays, someone else does Tuesdays, and we just make like 6 portions and then we all share and we just cook once a week, but no one wanted to do it. But I think people would pay for it, right? So it's like, hey, I'm making extra enchiladas tonight. If you did it with a friend circle, you could charge, but if you were just doing it in the community, the way around the permit is a donation of any size. But people would get to know it like, oh, every Tuesday, I know that we're busy. I'll just swing by so-and-so's house because I know that it's Taco Tuesday there, and I'm just going to pick up my dinner on the way home. Things like lemonade stands and things like that. Again, you can show up at an event where there's no food and people are going to be, and give it away for free for a donation. So if there's a concert in the park and no one is bringing food, like just show up, have stuff for free, have a donation bucket, and you will be super surprised. If people are waiting in line for something, that like the DMV, and that's in the city, you guys don't really have lines that long. You think they're long in the rural areas, but in the city, they're like hours long. Like, what if you showed up and you just had free water for a donation, right? Or free cookies for a donation? People are hungry, they're waiting in line. It's a great place to capitalize as an entrepreneur. With music, busking is free. You can busk for free playing your music, but you can also go into local restaurants and say, I'd love to play here for tips. One of the ways people are making money on YouTube is literally recording the sound of the ocean or rain and putting it with beautiful photography and just getting paid through YouTube for hits. Google it and look it up. You'll just type in like rain music. You'll see how many hits people are getting and figure out how to do it better. You can also play, like, let's say you play the harp, right? You could make sure all of the pastors in town that perform marriages or funerals know, and have your card and recommend you to people for weddings and funerals, those types of things. Let's look at sports really quickly. If you have a drone, you can go sit somewhere where people would want shots, like let's say a ski resort again. People might want a drone to follow them, or someone to ski backwards and videotape them, or be at the bottom of a jump and take pictures of them. Again, you can do it for free to try it out. Eventually you could start it as a service. Going to a local skate park, and if you're a great photographer that can capture action shots, taking a ton of shots and saying, hey, I'll send you all your shots for a donation of any size, right? Or at a child's sporting event, take all the pictures and then give people your website and where you've uploaded them and say that it's a donation of any size. Or you can charge, but a lot of times people will charge like $40 at a basketball tournament for your kid's photo. As a parent, you want it, but you're not going to pay $40. If someone's charging $1 a photo, you're going to maybe sell way more than you are $40 a shot, right? Or if you're doing it just for free to be kind, and people will reward you. If parents are going to a tourist attraction like golfing, talking to the golf resort about doing like a pop-up event for kids. So maybe during the busy tourist season, saying, hey, I'll host a kids clinic where I'll babysit and teach their kids a little golf for X amount of money. Could we do something like that? And then you can advertise it to tourists, to all the hotels, that we're offering this special golf and kid sitting golf lesson type of a package. You guys can host tournaments where you have basketball, hoop shooting contests, and people pay, X amount for so many tries, kind of like a carnival game, right? At any event that's happening, you can incorporate your love of sports and host a sort of a competition. You can host events to go see out of town events. That's how people make a lot of money doing what they love, is they will bring other people with them. So if you want to go on a cruise, for example, you organize a cruise and charge extra to organize it, and then people are paying for your ticket. So let's say you want to go see a professional basketball game. You say, okay, I have room for 6 people to go to Reno, and it costs X amount of money to go, and it includes your ride there and your ticket in and pizza. Like maybe you're gonna just take everyone to pizza or something. You charge extra, so it pays for your ticket and your travel, and maybe income as well. So kind of fun. Here's someone that has taken their love of baseball and turned it into jewelry. You can set up at baseball tournaments doing that. A lot of times people take their craft and then they try to sell it randomly, like on Etsy or Facebook. You need to go to the events where the baseball lovers are, right? So if you're doing beading on your own, you can now incorporate that with baseball and show up at a baseball game and have something related to baseball. Okay, super fast here, history. You can take people on tours of your local area, set up scavenger hunts that incorporate history. You guys can also offer genealogy recording for families. A lot of families don't live near their relatives, so you can offer a service where you go into retirement homes or meet with the elderly in their home and record their stories for families, or ask them a bunch of questions for their families to help get information for genealogy. Looking at art, you can talk to your local city about applying for grants that would pay you to turn all of your utility boxes into beautiful murals. Or you can go to business owners and paint their windows for holidays for a donation of any size. You can go to sunsets, as I mentioned, and teach painting classes, or at tourist attractions. At campgrounds, there's not a lot of activities happening for the kiddos when it's evening time and their parents don't want them out in the dark. You could offer like campfire stories and rock painting, or something that is super free and cheap to use, like go find a rock and then bring it and we'll paint it together. I'll teach you some techniques. You guys can also develop some, like let's say you were able to sculpt something. A lot of towns, like in Texas, they have the parade of cows. Some people have the parade of horses, or they'll have, in one city I lived in, they were known for oranges. So we had oranges all over town. You can write a grant with your local city to basically create tourist attractions all over your city, honoring something that's important to your city history. Construction, I love this one. See this word love? These are like, 6 foot, 7 foot letters. Figure out a way to buy or make these for under $100, and you can rent them out every weekend for weddings. People are really into these right now. Or for photo shoots, like the first day of school, a school might be able to rent that from you for a dance. I mean, there's endless possibilities. You guys can also make wedding arches, and if you have a garage, you just store stuff like that. Every month, commit to making one new thing that someone at a wedding would want to rent. Or maybe you invest in buying a set of 50 chairs, and you have this love thing, and you rent it out for weddings together. Special wood things that you can take to events like a basketball tournament. Make something that you could pass out flyers and let people know you have them in the car. Here's a bed and breakfast that was video game themed. So if you have a spare room, instead of just renting it out to tourists, you can theme it and make it super cool so that it becomes a a destination, and this doesn't cost much to do, just to customize something to make it a super cool destination. We're going super fast, it's 12, I gotta hurry up. Funerals. People in rural areas do not have access to airports often, and so they miss funerals because it's really expensive to fly in to smaller airports or do all the connections or fly into a big airport and travel. You can work with the funeral home to offer Skyping of funerals. Finding out what companies don't have websites, teaching the elderly how to Zoom their relatives and hosting like Zoom with your relatives at Thanksgiving, Zoom with your relatives at Christmas, and going into retirement homes and offering that service. Helping people, if you're going out of town, you could definitely make a lot of money doing shopping for people out of town. You can make money offering to sit with the elderly overnight, like you could stay with them overnight while they're sleeping for 10 or 20 bucks. People are paying a lot more than that. But if you don't have a home of your own and you don't have a place to stay, instead of paying rent, you can literally find enough people that would hire you to stay with the elderly overnight and pay you, because it's hard, especially in a rural area, to find people just to spend the night with your relatives if you don't already live there. Doing things around the community, like offering to rake leaves in exchange for a donation. And you could eventually turn it into a service of some sort. Showing up at places where people need things like sunscreen and water at events where none is being offered. Again, for free, and you don't need a permit. And it can eventually turn into a business model. I've been wanting to find vending machines for sunscreen to install at the beach, but I haven't figured it out yet because you have to pay like $10 a bottle at the local stores next door. Super tiny bottle too. But if we could have a vending machine for $1, you get to roll out a sunscreen, it'd be awesome. Mosquito spray at a campground, gold, right? Okay, last two here, I promise, Mark, I'm wrapping up. My daughter did $6,000 in sales as a 13 and 14-year-old with American Girl dolls. It wasn't selling on eBay. It was joining very, very specific Facebook groups to sell a certain thing, right? So she joined American Girl Facebook groups and did purges where it's like, okay, I'm starting a purge at 1 o'clock, and then people would follow, and at 1 o'clock, they're all waiting to buy from her to see if she has what they need as a collector. We still have tons and tons of dolls to sell. So when she's ready for her college money, we'll plow through all that. But she got bored of it, sick of it, and hates shipping. So we're kind of out of it. But if you guys are looking at reselling, the way to find a niche is to join Facebook message groups. I mean, not message groups, Facebook groups specific to your niche. So for her, it was American Girl dolls. Let's say that you want to specialize in selling Disney clothing that you make on a t-shirt Cricut machine that you have. You want to join the Disney boards, right? Another thing with shopping is if you're going out of town, what do people want? We used to do fundraisers in Bishop for Krispy Kreme donuts and In-N-Out Burger. And we literally would make $4,000 selling Krispy Kreme donuts for Valentine's Day. They were pre-order. And we did it as a fundraiser. So Krispy Kreme sold us them at half price. But you guys have to think about, what do people want that they go out of town to get, and how can you bring it in, right? So super cool ideas. And movies, you could host movie nights. You could buy a projector like this and rent it out to people. You can make trivia contests. So too many ideas, but I hope it was helpful for you guys. I have a lot of these ideas on my website. I have a database on there that I haven't had a lot of time to work on, but it's kind of cool because you'll click on the idea and it'll take you to someone already doing it. So on the left-hand side are like training that maybe you had or college majors, and on the top right are interest ideas, and you can pair them together. So yesterday I did one that was a guy who took his love of musical theater and paired it with punk music, and he's doing punk on Broadway music. We saw him on America's Got Talent. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I have to put this in my database because no one's doing this. But you'll get to see lots of examples of things we talked about and actually see people doing these business ideas, as well as colleges and training you can do for various ideas that I mentioned. So I hope it was helpful. And I will let Mark take over from here.
So this was awesome, Jamie. I mean, one question that I have off the top of my head. So if you're doing In-N-Out burgers, how do you get them to Bishop? Since I'm trying to think of the closest In-N-Out burger.
Yeah.
Gosh,
So
Bakersfield
for
or Reno?
years, we tried to see if we could get them to come up for an event with they have like a fundraising truck, and it's not close enough to keep the materials fresh.
Right.
So you would need to probably get like it's probably 3.5 hours away, 4 hours. People would know that they're getting it colder, right? But you could have In-N-Out package everything separately. So they would put all the buns in one box, all the burgers in one box, all the tomatoes, and then people could, you could make up the burgers, is how I would do it. Or have them make the burgers without sauce and then just get the sauce packets. So people would know. The Krispy Kremes lasted better than the In-N-Out burger. But yeah, we used to fill a whole truck bed of Krispy Kreme donuts. It was crazy. So, but
I think that's great, right? Because
so you're not
Krispy
using
Kreme
your
the
own
same
money.
type of thing, quite a ways away. But with Krispy Kreme, yes, they do have like the hot glazed donuts. If anybody has been in a major metropolis area with the Krispy Kreme, they do have that. But for the most part, as long as you get them there the same day, they're going to be pretty good, regardless.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's anybody else that has any additional questions. There was a ton of stuff. I think one of the moral of the story is that you may not know what you want to do, especially if you want to start a business. You may think that you want to start a business, but you don't know the idea. But there's lots of ideas out there, and I think that that's the important thing. So, like Jamie did, she gave you a ton of different ways that will help you begin to generate those ideas. And I think so I would encourage people just to go through the exercises, and you will be surprised with the different things that you come up with. I don't have my slide up, but I have put it up in the box. I'll put it up again. If you guys are, you guys need assistance and need to find information, we have all of that information on our website at nativebiz.org. If you want to reach me, and I think Jamie, Jamie's has given everybody her contact information and her website. If for some reason you don't have it, I'm going to give you my email. You guys feel free to reach out to me. And of course, like Jamie has mentioned several times, and I mentioned at the beginning, so the IDRS Acorn Project, we provide free training and technical assistance. And all technical assistance is counseling. So we help people start small businesses, and that's business plan review, or just talking about your business. Or if there's a specific thing within your business, we're more than happy to help you work on it. And we don't pretend that we're the experts. I was going to say in everything, in anything. We all learn in different ways, and we all learn together. But if there's information that we can help you out with, we'll help find people like Jamie that can assist you. So want to encourage you, no matter what you're doing, to please reach out, get on our website. There's a form on there where you can sign up. All of our services, our trainings, and our technical assistance are free of charge to Native entrepreneurs and artists. So please get on there, sign up, and we'd be more than happy to help you. So thank you very much, Jamie. It was a wonderful presentation. We sure appreciate it. Look forward to doing more in the future. I want to thank everybody that participated today and came to the presentation. I hope you guys got a lot out of it. Like we've mentioned several times, we'll send out the recording, and that'll also have our contact information on it as well. So with that, if there's no other questions, thank you very much. We'll see you guys all next time.